Hi, I'm Kathy Stewart, and I welcome you today to be with me while I talk to you about giving your child a spiritual heritage as a single parent or as a spiritually single parent. I was a single parent for a few years, and then I met and married a wonderful man, and even though we had a good marriage, he was not a Christian and I was, so I was still spiritually single. That's what I mean by spiritually single. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 biblical principles that I came up with over many years and through a lot of mistakes. Romans 8:28 says, God can work all things together for good to those who love Him. And so I just claimed that and just kept going. But the first, the 3 principles are maintaining your relationships, and living out your faith by your actions, and then developing a support network. So I'll talk to you first about being a single parent or spiritually single parent. In the first principle of maintaining relationship, the main relationship or the number 1 relationship is with God. So you do that by prayer or Bible study, listening, obeying what He wants you to do. Then the second relationship is, if you're married, is your spouse. So you just do what keeps you close, whatever that is. If that is a date night, spending time together doing things, just talking, whatever, just to keep that relationship going. When you are spiritually single, there can be conflicts because you have different goals and different priorities. So in 2 Corinthians 6:14, it tells you not to be yoked with an unbeliever, meaning don't be married to an unbeliever. And I know why that would be a problem, is that you have different goals and different priorities. Like in my situation, my husband would want to go to skiing or go to the lake or just do something other than church, and many times I would rather go to church, and that caused conflict. But a friend told me, God knows what's in your heart, and He also wants you to be in the right relationship with your husband. And so if it didn't violate any principles, I'd just go with Him and we'd have a good time. The third relationship is your children, and we'll talk more about that later on. So your second principle is living out your faith by your actions. My husband told me early, don't push me or about your religion or we'll be divorced. And God showed me I wasn't going to be the one to bring him to Christ. I have a Bible verse. 1 Peter 3:1-2 says, in the same way, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands, so that even if some disobey the Christian message, they may be won over without a message by the way their wives live when they observe your pure, reverent lives. Well, I wasn't always pure and reverent, and I got that wrong a lot, but somehow through God's grace, He let George see God in me sometimes. But what I did do, I didn't push and I didn't preach, but I just would talk about my beliefs, talk about God when there was an opportunity, and I would invite him to church if he wanted to come. Sometimes he would come, sometimes he wouldn't. And I mostly prayed, and I had everybody all over the world praying. Every time there was a prayer request, I would say, pray for my husband, for his salvation. And so for about 16 years, I prayed and everyone else prayed, and there was a crisis in his life, and he was open to the gospel after about 16 years, and our preacher, who he had a relationship with, led him to the Lord. So that may or may not always happen, but I had given him up to the Lord and just said, he may or may not ever do that, but you've shown me that my job is to ask. There's the story about the the man who goes to his neighbor asking for bread in the middle of the night because he has a visitor, and the neighbor says, "Go away, I'm sleeping," and the guy says, "No, I need bread." Keeps knocking, and Jesus told that parable, and he said that the neighbor would, not because he's your friend, but because of your persistence, he would give you the bread. So he showed me, for me, that meant that I was to keep asking, and that was my job. So the third principle is developing a spiritual network. A friend of mine always used to say there's no Lone Ranger Christians, and we're not meant to be alone, we're meant to be in community. So developing relationships is really important. Your friends and your family and church friends were really important to me, and are very helpful in developing that support network and helping you out and sharing your struggles. So at Rabbit Creek, there's plenty of other people that you can develop a relationship with, and find someone that shares the same struggles with you, that you can be a support network for each other. In spiritual training, you ideally want that with both parents, but if you're a single parent, then it's just you, or if you're spiritually single, it's just you. And I had to raise my son and teach him those biblical principles by myself too. And I know it's really hard sometimes. So I just encourage you to do your best and just keep trying. So the three principles that I talked about before, maintaining your relationships, living your faith out by your actions, and developing a support network, are also important in giving your child a spiritual heritage. The first principle, maintaining relationships, again, the number one is God. Kids will keep you on your knees a lot praying. Number two is your spouse if you're married, and number three is your children. So it's important to share your values and talk about God and Jesus whenever you can fit it in. If you spend time driving to and from daycare or school or anywhere, you can talk about it, you can tell stories, play Christian music for kids, or K-Love, or any kind of Christian music that they would like. When you're having dinner as a family, you can do that, and I encourage you to have dinner as a family because it's really important for kids, as often as you can, but you can use that time also. My son was more open at bedtime. He was always wanting to ask questions and talk at bedtime, and so that gave us a good time to do that, and I would just try to allow a few extra minutes so I wouldn't be rushing through getting him ready for bed. The second principle, living out your faith by your actions, I have two sayings that I like, and one is teach people about Jesus every day, and if you must, use words. And the other one is more things are caught than taught, and that those just mean that people are more influenced by your actions, and especially children are more influenced by your actions than by what you say. It's important to have your actions match your values. So you have to think about what are the values that I want to give to my children, and how do I do that, and be intentional. I really struggled in this area, and I got it wrong a lot. I was more reactive than proactive, but everyone has their areas that are difficult, and so it is hard sometimes. So just encourage you to do your best and try your hardest. We all blow it, and you just give yourself some grace. If God can forgive you, then we can forgive ourselves. So when you do blow it, just ask God for His forgiveness, and if it's appropriate, you can ask your kids for forgiveness too, and that's a really good thing for them to see it acted out, these values that you talk about forgiveness. The number three, the support network, is again important because you need people around you that can help reinforce your values to your child. Your friends, if you have believing friends, they can see that modeled in them, in other people. Also, your extended family, if they're believers, they'll see then your values through them again too. Excuse me. Another thing that's helpful is a parenting class or a family-focused small group, parenting group or family-focused small group. And Rabbit Creek has many small groups, and so you could look there if you are not involved in one, and there would be people that have children that share the same struggles, that you can support each other in that. So you also need time for yourself, and when you have a support network, that's helpful. You can go do something that rejuvenates you, that makes you feel relaxed, just to get away for a little bit. If you're married, your spouse can watch the kids for a while you go do something, or if you have extended family, or if you have friends that you can swap out babysitting time, swap childcare time, then you can go do something, and when you come back, you're more rejuvenated, you have more energy for your family. So that's an important thing. I know sometimes it can be overwhelming, and you can have a hard time trying to fit it all in. So that reminds me of a story. And I have these jars here. One's got large rocks, one has sand. And this college professor asked his class, do you think you could get both of these in one jar? And they said, oh, no, we don't think you can. He said, well, if you put all of the big rocks into the jar of sand, they will not fit. You can't get it all in. But if you take the big rocks, put them in first, if you can get it out, and then you take the sand, pour it in, it all fits in between all the big things. Oh, sorry, I missed. And you can get it all in the jar. So the analogy to this is that if you go around doing all your little small things, your endless to-do list every day, and do all that first and try to finish that, and then try to fit the big things, important things in, like God and your kids and your family, you can't do it. But if you put the important things first and make those your priority, then all the little things will fit in around that. So your homework today is to think of those 3 principles that we talked about and identify one that you struggle, one area that you may struggle in. And think of a way that you can work on that. So come up with a plan, write it down, and share it with someone, with a friend or a mentor or someone that can help keep you accountable or help support you in that. So you might think that you need to have more of a support network, and so you could go find a small group to join here at the church. Or maybe you want to have a closer relationship with God, so you might start a Bible study or just make time just to study and pray yourself. So those are some examples. Just ask God for His help and let Him guide you in that. Thank you.